Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the third race of the Classic Day Championship organized. Ooh, we see a big hit into the wall already, but it's practice, so no damage done. But yeah, welcome to the third race of the Classic Day Championship organized in SSR by Kavalo and Schwarzfahr. And we are in the United States of America today. We are driving around Daytona, doing the road course, so not just the oval. As you can see, the track is a lot more complicated than the oval. But there are bits around the oval, so hopefully we should be able to see some racing around there too. And hopefully we'll have a couple more people as well from the start of the race, and it will be a long one today. The race lengths in this championship are varied this season, and this is one of the 1 hour races that we'll be having. Ooh, as we see Dustin getting that corner a little bit wrong. I think you kind of want to slide it in there, but you don't want to completely cut the first part of the chicane as he goes onto the banking. You can see it's a pretty sharp angle, which thinking about a little bit more doesn't mean anything, because if the angle is entirely sharp, it's literally flat. But it's a pretty big angle that these corners are banked at. I don't know off the top of my head what the exact degrees are on there, but it's definitely quite fast through there as well. As a result, these cars can go fast. In a straight line, at least they seem quite capable. And today we'll see who has the more capable car in a straight line. And again, it's third race in a row where straight line speed will be important because of the long stretches where you do not have to touch the brake. And first race, we saw it go wrong with Mick Schleifer, who isn't here right now. Mick Schleifer had his gear ratio too short, or maybe that was a choice, but in the end it did mean that he was entirely uncompetitive on the long straights, resulting in some very easy overtakes. Today we do have Dustin, his first time joining here today in this season. Last season he was there and he was fighting not necessarily for the championship. Mick Schleifer had a very good hold on that, but he did have a couple of wins, a couple of good races, and he's always been up there, known as one of the stronger drivers here. So maybe he will join the championship fight, and we do have a championship fight, a three-way championship fight so far. We have Slippy, who is driving here as well. He, I believe, is in the lead of the championship. I will quickly check. He is indeed in the lead of the championship with 25 points. That is 10 points for a second place in... I'm sorry. Slippy is not first. Slippy is second. But first is Mick Schleifer. He's not here. Mick Schleifer has 25 points. He was second in the first race. Third in the first race. And he was first last race. 15 points for first and 10 points for third. Add up to 25. Slippy was first in the first race, but last race, fortunately, the best he managed was fourth place. I'm reading that correctly. And then Kavalo is in third, 22 points. Second in the first race, third in last race. So he's only 1 point behind Slippy and only 3 points behind Mick Schleifer. And if Schleifer isn't here today, then we'll surely, provided Kavalo finishes, see Kavalo ahead of Mick Schleifer. It's a good place to be, but he does have Slippy to contend with. We're still ahead of him in the championship. If Kavalo manages to finish ahead of Slippy, then he will likely be the championship leader after today. That is all provided that Mick Schleifer doesn't make a late entry. That is all possible. I haven't explicitly seen that he will not be joining. So who knows, hopefully we'll still see him in the lobby in a moment. Now, the course. Quickly gonna... Oh, he just retired. I'm going to go to Wujek and we're gonna jump on board the cockpit, and you can see the banking of this corner is severe. And it is not the hardest thing at speed. Even without speed, it's okay to survive. But it will make for some interesting racing. Oval racing is just a different piece of cake, but this would be the entry to turn 1. It's a small kink. Ooh, and it's very easy to get wrong. As you see a small mistake from Wujek there, resulting in a spin. This is the turn as it should be. Into a quick section of S's. I don't think you're supposed to completely cut it like that, but if the game allows it, everybody's gonna do it. It's that simple. Hairpin corner there. And there is a bit of an acceleration zone. Very good to keep that car under control. Get as little wheel spin as possible into a flat out kink, into a braking zone, and another hairpin. Again, very important to get the exit right, but not as important because the next braking zone is coming up right here. And here we will be entering the oval section. And you enter the banking just like that. Stay low, minimize the distance. You will still be accelerating throughout most of it, if not all of it. You still had a gear. And then you train your eyes onto a couple of cones, brake as late as you dare, go through the chicane, take as much curb as the game will allow you to do, and go through there as fast as you can with a good exit speed for the last portion, which is a banked corner, same but reverse as the first banked corner, and start finish is on the next somewhat banked corner. And that is a lap of the road course in Daytona. It is a very interesting track, very famous for endurance races. Those are driven here. Maybe it's a 24-hour one that's done here normally. Pretty well known in the racing world. The game does have some obscure tracks that nobody has heard of, but this is definitely not one of them. It's a very well respected track. Slippy has the fastest lap time so far. Dustin in second, and we've got Nico. Quickly want to check in the timings. It will say it's Shuking. I don't think we've seen Nico yet during this season. Quickly check, but I don't think he has been here. No, he has not been here yet this season. I do recall seeing him last time. So, definitely see more of him. Cavalo, of course, I mentioned him. Chance to take the lead in the championship, but the lap times are not looking like it. 2 seconds behind Slippy. Not entirely what you want. Of course, some tracks will suit you more than others. We'll see what Cavalo makes of it today. Of course, practice is nothing like qualifying or the race. We do not know what these drivers are running, what they are testing, what they are doing. So we'll just have to wait until sessions that matter a little bit more. Oodler then, who is worked on his car a little bit there, but I'm not sure if that's desired. It could be entirely visual, and of course the lights beautifully floating ahead of the car. This game does not compromise on safety, and it's very important that the lights stay exactly where they are, and ghosting through the other driver can be explained. To do with an old bug in Project Cars 2, where if you are on track, I believe it's the same in ACC actually, where if you are on track, drivers that join the session are not loaded in until you return to the pits. So Oodle will not be loaded in for the driver he just overtook. Hence there is no collision. Or it's the opposite way, I think. If both of these drivers reset to pits, then it will be solved, and especially the next session there will be collisions between them. Here we have a Benefits, which is a unknown quantity for me. I don't think I've seen him race here before, but he's here today. So hopefully he gets a good race too. Also we can say hopefully for every driver. But somebody will have to come last. Some people may not even finish, so we'll see what happens. Wojciech is here too. He is, I don't know, restarting the car. There's only a couple of seconds remaining, so just sitting there. He has had a little bit of bad luck. Hopefully today will be better. We've got Bertie, Tom, Kyle. A green Spartan car. Do like this livery. Also, another unknown quantity for me. I don't think I've seen this driver before. Was very welcome to show me what he is worth. Looks very smooth from the visuals that I see on screen right now. Quickly go on board to... never mind. I thought we would go on board to quickly see what he was doing in the banking, but he decided to return to pits, which saves a lot of people some time, so that is very respectable. Quite common as well. People don't tend to like wasting each other's time, even if it's not interpreted like that. It's just nicer. Let's see, I hear an engine. I'm just trying to figure out who it is. It is Mr. Fitz. I have to quickly, it's Benny. Benny Fitz. I did remember correctly. I just needed to verify. Because it's better to check than to be embarrassed in public on stream. Benny Fitz will be the first out. First to settle up. And currently on the out lap, important thing is to make sure that the tires are a little bit warmed up at least. Often in this game it actually takes 2 laps to get the best out of your tires. So out lap, a somewhat push lap, and then your next push lap will be faster. I'm not sure how it is with these cars. And yeah, these tires are ever changing as well. This too is a game that always continuously updates. In fact, another update has been announced where the tires will change again. So we'll enjoy this set while it lasts. So what's the tire physics? It is of course based on the Madness engine of Project Cars 2. Which some might know is not perfect. Just like every other racing engine. There's always things to fix, always things to improve, and they are continuously doing that, and that is what makes this race, this game so interesting. If you are more into sim racing, you will know that physics changes aren't always welcomed, they're not always good. I believe iRacing at some point decided to update things, and suddenly drivers started going on the grass to cool their tires. No such thing in this game, but no guarantee it will never happen, as Benny Fitz starts his first lap. Good, nice clean braking into the first turn. I think he gets a decent exit. Let's go into the cockpit for the hairpin. We're deep in the infield section now. It's a decent exit. Small slide to correct, but he does that nicely. Small lift there. So not entirely flat. Does need to brake for his corner. I think he missed it a little bit. It's a little bit wide. It's on exit nicely. A little bit of a slide. Sometimes that is faster in this game. and through this corner, try to be out as early as possible, try to get the best exit speed you can, and onto the oval. Now this is normally, if there's no other cars around, oval racing, if there are other cars around, you have to think about other cars, is absolutely insane. It is genuinely terrifying in every way. You will have everything changing around you, but the chicane very nicely taken. A bit cautious, I think. Just getting a banker in. When you're alone, these bank corners are nothing for this car at this speed in this course. Benny is set to finish his first lap. Onto this banking, there's the line, and it is a 150.2. I don't think that's the fastest we've seen, and it is not. Scafolo immediately beats it, just like Shuking, Nico, and Slippy goes under that by almost 2 seconds ahead of Cafalo. Very impressive, and it is kind of what we're starting to see more from this man. Slippy has shown himself to be a very capable driver in these cars. He's the Mick Schleifer of the BMWs, of course. Last season in the Porsche cars, Mick Schleifer was completely untouchable. Slippy last race wasn't all there though. He didn't quite have the pace. He didn't quite. Yeah, I said it correctly. He didn't quite have the pace that we're seeing here right now, and that we saw in the first race. So long as it stays a little bit on and off, we do still have the opportunity for other people to challenge him in the championship. And I do see that Dustin has left the session. Don't know what is going on there, but my money is on that he will be rejoining soon. I do recall that there is a bug somewhere in the game where the last person isn't shown. I don't think that's what's going on right here. I think it's just out for now. Hopefully he will be back very soon. I was excited to join today, so can't be intentional. Wojciech starting his lap just. Let's see what he does. When he slides out a little bit, goes a little bit wide, touches a little bit of grass. It's so easy to make mistakes there. So he continues through the other hairpin, the other way. To line it up correctly, you have to be all the way on the right to get a good line onto the oval section. This might be one of the most important corners. I think it's the second most important corner on the track. Just because you need good speed on the exit. If you don't have good speed on the exit, you're losing so much time. Then the most important corner is coming up. I want to see what this looks like on the cockpit. See, the bumper is a little bit different from how it looked at purchase. But a little bit cautious into the chicane. I think that is fine. Especially if you don't have a time yet, you want to set a time first before you start improving. Call the banker lap, and I think we might be seeing one soon. I do notice that Shuking has improved his P3 to a P2. It's currently second on the list. You go ahead of Cavalo and Wojciech. Where does he stand? Wojciech in P4. A little ways behind Cavalo. I think it's over half a second. I'm pretty sure. So a little bit more to find for him, but a banker nevertheless. I want to quickly look at Slippy, because I think he might be coming up to the chicane, and if not, then he's very far away from it. So we hope he's coming up to the chicane. I want to see exactly how he takes it, is the thing. So I assume this is where the men are separated from the boys. Bit of a slide. He takes it very tight there. Ooh, that is a lot of curb. I mean, the game could very well tolerate that. The game is a little bit random with what is allowed and what isn't. I don't see a lap time invalidated in the top right, so I think that is going to remain allowed. There's a very fast run through there. Currently fastest with a 147.2. Shooting a little ways behind that. Cavallor a couple of tenths behind that. 2 tenths. Good return for Nico. Hasn't been here for the last 2 races. First race in this season and immediately up there in P2. In a sense, the best of the rest. And we do see Dustin has returned just in time. Got about 3 minutes to spare, 3.5 minutes. I think about 1.5 minutes before the end of the session. It closes. And the game will not allow you in anymore. Now, while I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is, I'm sure there is one. If somebody from Razer is watching this, please do inform me. I'm always interested in hearing. Yeah, there we do see Shuking either finishing or starting on the lap, and every finish is of course also a start. Unless it's of course the last lap of the race or the last lap of qualifying, but we're not there yet. 5 minutes to go. These drivers have time to improve. They've got some time to find. Wujek has gotten a lot closer to Cavallor, but is not past him yet. Ooh, a small mistake from Nico, and he decides to park it. Gives Cavallor the opportunity to improve and overtake. And he goes very tight through there on the grass, but the car is stable through there. Maybe he didn't lose anything. Nice exit there, very stable. The car looks planted for the most part. A little bit of lift, and it's a decent lift through there actually. It's not just for turning, you do kind of want to ensure you don't take too much speed in. Takes all the exit, but maybe a little bit too much. Bit of a slide, corrects it and continues. Small mistakes like that might cost you in the end, but he keeps the car under control thus far. And through the banking he goes. First of a set of 3, where the last one is on the start-finish line. And approaching the, what I think is the most important corner on the track, the chicane. Take a good line through there. And a lot of curb there as well. Roughly the same tactic there as Slippy. It seems to work out. I do not see it being invalidated. Validation up there is from a while ago, and that might be practice data, so I'm not sure if it's accurate and up to date, because it doesn't show Slippy's latest the fastest lap. I can scroll through it, but there we go. Shooting across the line, no improvement I believe, but Wujek has improved, and it's a good improvement. That's a very good improvement. 148.5 is second place, and by a decent margin. Is definitely something for Nico to break his head over, and Cavallor as well. Got Oodle behind. Now of course we've got Dustin, who hasn't set a valid lap time yet. Had to leave and rejoin. But it seems to me that things seems to be alright. He is probably on his lap right now. I do see some visual glitches here and there, unfortunately. So coupled with the car itself, like how it likes to vibrate sometimes from side to side. But that unfortunately cannot be helped. How the game is as of now. Spectating features aren't brilliant. For instance, there is a button here that says standings, and if I click it, nothing happens. So it's not perfect right now. But that's what we kind of have to deal with. So Dustin then through the chicane. He's sliding this car through these corners on exits. Really fighting it. And visually he's driving it with one arm, so that's impressive. But a very nice line through the chicane. It felt pretty fast. A little comfortable, but fast enough. Though through this corner as he finishes this lap, and he's got time for one more, but that will be it. Somebody pulls into the pits, right? Not enough fuel to go for another one. Dustin sets his lap time, but it's only good enough for 5th. And he will have time to do another one, but that will be his last opportunity. We've got Nico also still driving. And Cafalor as well. Nico also starts his final lap. Will have an opportunity to overtake Wojciech, who has set a brilliant time, but that is able to be overtaken. Nico already closer than he was before. Not by much so. Cafalor also on his last run, it seems. So I don't think he will make it in 26 seconds, given that he has the whole oval to do. And then we've got Benny Fitz also on his last lap. Dustin, I think, will be the first to finish, so that's not right. That's definitely not right, because Cafalor is already ahead of him. And if I look on the track map, then we can see the 4 dots there in order. We've got Cafalor, I think, followed by Dustin. And we've got either Benny or Nico behind that. Those two are the last two still driving. But Cafalor will set his lap time first. A 1:49.1 for him on the board right now. Will need to find a lot of time to gain position. 3/10 at least. 6/10 for second. Is he going to do it? Goes up to the line. Stay low here. Minimize the distance. No improvement, unfortunately, for him. So that is where he stays. Dustin is also not improving. So it is up to Nico and Benny Fitz. Nico coming up to the line. Benny Fitz is behind him. So across the line, what will it be? It is an improvement, and it is a very, very strong improvement from Nico. A 1:47.6, and that puts him within half a second of Slippy. Now that's not something I expected anymore. It looked like Slippy had this with a margin. But Nico showing that he can race. He has pace on this track. And might be challenging Slippy. At least a little bit. It will be very tough to keep up with him for Wojciech and Cafalor as a result. But, of course, that is qualifying. All about one lap pace. The race is slightly different. So then we got Slippy in pole position, followed by Shuking, Nico in second place. Wojciech in third place. Pretty rough start of the season so far, so hopefully he at least maintains the position and maybe even gains a couple. But he's got Cafalor behind him, of course. Fighting for the lead of the championship today. All he has to do is beat Slippy. And that is more easily said than done, by a lot. It's not easy to do at all. Let's see what he can make of it. Dustin, first outing here this season in 5th position, followed by Oodler. Benny Fitz in 7th, and then we've got Bertie Tom Kyle in 8th place. There's a little bit of a gap between him and the rest, but that is, of course, alright. These cars do take a little bit of time to get comfortable with, as is obvious from the onboards. You see a lot of people be very cautious with the car. Keep it stable, keep it controlled. Seems the faster drivers are just able to slide it a little bit more and extract pace out of it, which is incredibly impressive. It's not easy to do. All right, up to 20 seconds more and then we will go racing. The time remaining is not time until we start, and we start. Lights go out, you can hear them. Now the last people would look like a jump start from Dustin. Is that going to be penalized? Slippy stays in the lead, has a very good start. Shuking, unfortunately, I think missed the start a little bit. Cavalo right behind. And Wojciech also didn't have the greatest of starts, but he is still there on the inside. Keeps position. And Ule, Benefits and Betty stay in the same place. Cavalo defends position, but goes a little bit deep. And Wojciech takes a switchback move back into P4. And off to chase Shuking. I'm quickly going to check the timings. No drive-through penalty from Dustin. Now, I can explain that, because he clearly jumped the start. I think we can all agree. He jumped the start. But this game is perfect without any flaws, except that sometimes people just start earlier. Sometimes they just get the starting signal too early, in which case they will be permitted to start early. Nobody else will not get a penalty for it, and they will just have a massive advantage. I'm very sorry, that's just how the game works. We can't change that, unfortunately. But yeah, Dustin a little bit lucky there. At least it's not showing it right through on my timing. It would be on the right here. But no, it appears he is fine. Let's remove the overview because that's a little bit distracting. It's not much screen space you have to work with. Famous too, since the top is the camera controls, and unfortunately there's no other way to do it. Yeah, Wojciech in 4th place, Cavalo close behind, and I've got the let's say the backpack. Bertie is a little bit far away, just taking it slow and cautious. We've got Benefits in 7th, chasing Urla. Now, Nico has a very good run, and I think either Dustin went for a very early pit stop, or he does have a drive-through. I quickly want to see what is going on here. Is he going for an early stop, or is this a drive-through? Because if this is a drive-through, either it's self-imposed, or it didn't show up on my timing. I'm gonna assume it didn't show up on my timing. He has completed this drive-through and he is back in last place. And I will say it's not the first time we've seen that from Dustin. Not maliciously, but sometimes you just jump it a little bit. Jump to start completely by accident. Just a lot of tension is there. You have to think about, like, what are you going to do? What are the situations you can get into? And if you miss the start, you lose so much. So you kind of... A lot of people try to preempt it. A lot of people just let the nerves get to them. And yeah, sometimes it happens. So many reasons for it to happen as well. But it was clean. There was no damage done to anyone. And he overtakes Bertie and goes up to 7th place, chasing Benefits ahead. Slippy still in the lead, uncontested, and Cavalo is chasing Wojciech, and this will be a fight. Hopefully we will keep seeing for at least a couple of laps. Of course, this race is an hour long, but we have almost already burned 4 minutes of it. And I'm not gonna lie, when we are on the oval, I very much prefer cockpit cam, chase cam, roof cam, whatever looks forwards. Because the trackside cam, all it shows you is a car on a bit of tarmac, which is nice. If people are close enough, it can make for very good shots. But in this case, a big mistake from Wojciech, went very wide there, but Cavalo seems to follow him through, making almost the same mistake. So no benefit gain there, and Urla is, as a result, probably getting a little bit closer. Cavalo making a couple of mistakes there, locking up his tires. Wojciech will be benefiting from that a little bit. Nico losing touch with Slippy, but he is comfortably in 2nd for now. He's have a second pace advantage over the rest. Assuming the first lap. The first lap is not representative, actually. But if he is able to maintain that pace, that will be very good for him. Of course, it was not his first lap, it was the second lap. But still, always, people are still sorting themselves out a little bit. So we see Benefits also getting quite close to Oodler. On 50.1 actually is also faster times of last lap. So I think he did pretty well there. If he can keep up that pace consistently, then could very well be a very nice result in his first outing for the Classic Day Championship. Currently he turns lights on, I don't know why, but very nice to see. Could be automatic. Good chance that the sun is setting. Looks a little bit more dim. But the gaps have already formed. Was we all find that a little bit unfortunate. Sometimes that's just the way the racing is. But we do see a big mistake for Cavalo, and Oodler follows him straight through. And Benefits will be the main benefactor from this, but will it be enough for a position? It is not for now. But it is again a small mistake from Oodler, a little bit of a lock-up. Benefits does have a more inside line, but does he have the better exit? A bit of a tank slapper. Sees Oodler extend the lead for now. You see a little bit of a mistake from him through this corner, not getting greatest line, but physically blocking Benefits in the nicest of ways, simply being unable to disappear. So we have Benny get a opportunity. He stays low here. You do see Oodler take a little bit of a wider entry. It is to carry speed through the corner before. Benefits opting for immediately going low. So the chicane then. Does Benefits close in? I think he does, just by a little bit on entry. How does it look on exit? Opts against getting a little bit of grass. But it's not enough to catch up to Oodler. We'll have the benefit of a little bit of slipstream. But I think it's not going to be enough on just half a lap on the overall. But that's an early braking from Oodler, and I understand why, because he's gone wide a couple of times there. So he wants to reorient, just go early for a lap or two, and to try to figure out where exactly he should be braking. With the car as it is, we'll have a different fuel load compared to qualifying. We'll also have to think about pit strategy. Now, I think by the end of the race, last time there was some confusion, had people pitted or not. It does show on the left if people are currently pitting, but it nowhere shows that they have. So you kind of have to remember that. Trying to keep a list in my head. Nobody has boxed yet. We only saw Dustin drive through the pit lane, but he hasn't stopped. And I believe I heard some people talk about 2 stops. They might just be joking to each other, saying, "Yeah, you should 2 stop. You know, I will do my 1 stop, but you should 2 stop." I could see that be a thing. But last race also there were concerns with tire wear. The reason that we see big mistake from Benefits. And he narrowly avoids Oodler. Car completely out of control there, under braking. Oodler gets away with only a set of brown pants that will have to go for cleaning after the race, but Benefit keeps the car just enough under control to avoid a major collision, and Oodler gets away with nothing but a little bit of a threat of a heart attack. Lose a lot of time there, Benny, of course. Not what you wanted to have happened. And that chicane is treacherous. It is very important to get a good entry and exit, but if you overdo it, yeah, that's kind of what happens. Kind of go over it without any sense of control. Cavalo, thankfully, on cue, as Benefits was catching up to Oodler, so that was a fight we had to watch. And as the incident happened, or almost happened, there was no collision, thankfully. We are back to these two fighting. Cavalo will want this position, but equally, Wujek wants a good result today. There's a good chance he sat down with himself before the start of the race, said to himself, look, I don't care if I'm 6th, you know, I just don't want to crash. I just want to have a solid, clean race today. No incidents, no crashes, no unexpected journeys into the gravel or grass, which seems to be more popular. And oh, but he has one there, just a little bit. No big incident there, but it does lose him so much time. We see Cavalo on the outside on the banked corner, and who will maintain that position for at least the next corner. It is the outside, it's a longer run, but he is faster and he remains faster. Wujek very close behind, trying to get that slipstream and regain some lost speed, but I think it might be in vain. He goes very wide, and Wujek, where are you going, man? That's not what a corner is, but he keeps the car just under control. Cavalo overtakes for 3rd, and he will have wanted that. That was very important for his championship. Trying to get as many points as he can. Ooh, I think a little bit of a bump there from Wujek, trying eagerly to re-overtake. He doesn't get the worst run in the world. He is still close, so this is not a done fight, but there's a good chance he overdoes it. Often in racing, and this is very common, sim racing especially, often you want to immediately make up for a bad moment, a mistake, miscalculation. When you fall back to 2nd, you want to be in 1st like as quickly as possible, and sometimes like the next corner. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works. And most of the time you kind of have to calm down, try to settle again, and just follow your opponents and see where they are weak. See if you can keep up. When he cuts the corner there a little bit, I think that might have benefited him there, but on exits it's all equal. He does have better speed though, the slipstream is helping him. Now, goes up high. I don't think there's any overlap yet. Oh, there is overlap, actually he's fully side by side, but it's very wide. And as a result, he doesn't fully overtake yet. Ooh, and he makes a big mistake. Got a little bit of a slide, overcorrected, straight on. But there's so much tarmac, it's okay. There's no crash. There is no crash, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen a lot of incidents where people overcorrected, made slight mistakes on the braking, gone very wide. As right here, 2 people in a row. These cars are so tough to drive, it seems. And I'm not kidding, I'm not trying to defend these people. These cars are very tough to drive, and they are showing it. Simply because they are so tough to drive. And but no incidents yet, no crashes, nobody's out. We started with 8 people, we still have 8 people. This is very, very good. We do see that Dustin has caught up to Benefits, who had a big moment earlier in the chicane. Narrowly avoided a crash with Oodler. Still driving. Science will not have like that, so we'll see when he stops for a new set of those. Now again, I have heard people speak about a 2-stop, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they're actually going to do it. Don't know if there is a Mad Lab, but if there is, he will be doing it in the next 5 to 10 minutes. This is a very clean run from Benny there, but Dustin, I think, just carries a little bit more speed. But the margin is tiny. Distance is not extending though, and that is generally a good sign for the driver behind. We catch up a little bit with the slipstream as well. That is before this braking zone. You do have to brake early. A lot of people make that mistake to brake late, but Dustin and Benny sorted that very nicely. This is a full-on fight between these two. Dustin looking around the outside, Benny defending the inside. I think the defense is successful unless a switchback is possible. Oh, Dustin does set himself up for it, but a little bit of a tank slapper there. But he keeps the car under control just enough. Keeps himself into the fight. Looks at the inside, but Benny nicely covers everything. It goes a little bit wide there. Seems to carry better speed than Dustin though. Around the outside then, Dustin late on the brakes. Is he going to retain it? Very wide on exit is not necessarily bad. Doesn't mean you get good speed, and Benny does not. And that, I think, means Dustin passes Benefits definitively. As far as this lap is concerned, Benny is actually not done with it. He does have better speed now, thanks to the slipstream. A slightly better setup on the gears. Hard to say. I don't think that was entirely desirable, and Dustin will be off. As we do notice that the Wujek has lost position to Udler, but this fight is not over either. Around the outside then, better speed than Udler. Udler has to concede, it seems. Now, is Wujek going to maintain it around the outside? And he's not. Udler late on the brakes. Is it too late though? We've seen this. He stops the car nicely before the corner, hits the apex, and Wujek has to stay P5 for now. Udler making his day very, very difficult. But also a lot of fun. Oh, he's late on the brakes though, and there's a little bit of a collision. And I think he understands that was his mistake. You can see he's not committed too much on the throttle, and he allows Udler to continue ahead of him. Good sportsmanship on display there. A little bit too late on the brakes or too eager. And those two are not necessarily the same. All the fights developing so far, not yet. Benefits is catching, no, not catching necessarily. He is keeping up with Dustin, and might be catching later if he's been nicer on the tires, especially. I can see it happening. You also see a difference in strategy deciding it between these two. Wujek and Udler continue their little fights, I think it's fair to say. Wujek very late on the brakes. Now I think that's a little bit too late. Fortunately misses the corner and spins out. Will we see Dustin overtaken? He does indeed. I think Benny also joins right there. And unfortunately for Wujek, it's not a big crash today so far, of course. It's not a big crash, but it is just mistakes that are adding up. Drops him from 3rd to 4th, all the way to 7th. Now, somebody without mistakes is in the lead. I wanted to look at him, but Benny is still keeping up. I do think it's a little bit my responsibility to keep covering this as long as it is not over, and it is not over. You do see Dustin struggling there, under braking. His car not entirely behaving. Benny is also having issues though. This car is tough to get right under braking. Can't really trail brake too well, it seems. doing this from what I'm seeing visually from the drivers. A lot of trail braking seems to result in big slides, spins, quicker than you would want. So a lot of people opt to go straight under braking. As a result, that does mean you can go very wide. Good exit from Dustin. Unfortunately, Benny cannot equal that. That does mean that Dustin walks away a little bit, and I do see Wujek has dropped back far. I'm honestly going to assume he has pitted. And Slippy is also pitting. There we go. 40 minutes into the race, Slippy is pitting. And he has been faultless so far, 10 seconds ahead at the time of boxing. Shuking Nico takes the lead of the race. Seemingly goes wide in turn 1. But no harm, no foul there. And it's a full-on tyre change. Cavalo also into the pits. Car looks absolutely battered. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what it looks like. And it's a long stop for Slippy as well. I think it's just how long it takes for the tyres to come on. And there he goes to see Betty Tom Kyle. He's quite a way back still on the chicane. Slippy emerges ahead of him. Cavalo still stopped, also changing tyres. That is what we are seeing. And Wujek, I'm pretty sure, has also stopped. Those times, I think it depends on 2:37. That tells me that the his pit box was before the start finish line, and for some people I think it will be after. Betty Tom Kyle also into the pits, will likely also be changing tires. So it wasn't a lie when people said that maybe you want a 2-stop, and we can see why. Wujek hasn't stopped, should have stopped, but we can see that this track is very difficult on tires, very tough on tires, excuse me. A lot of slides, a lot of mistakes to be had, and of course banked corners that you take at full speed will also degrade the tires very fast. We see Shuking go into the pits for his stop, and it will be a tire swap for him as well. We are expecting. They do show the men raising their hands, being like, "Oh, we're done. We've kneeled in front of the wheel. Look at us." Udler also into the pits, by the way. But they've just started. They're still doing it in reality. It's just the game is not showing it correctly. More issues with the game. Deal with it. Dustin takes the lead technically, only because he overtook Shuking in the pits. But he is also stopping. Udler and Benefits also in the pits. And I think that's everyone having stopped. So no more confusion for the caster. Everyone is legal to finish. There's a mandatory stop. They've all done it. But I think that's not the last stop we'll see. I think we'll see a lot of people stop again. Slippy takes the lead again. Nico emerges a little bit behind. And we'll see what the gap is. Cavalo is also behind, but I feel like maybe he's a little bit closer this time. I say that. Let's look. No, I don't see a Shuking, so I don't think it's that dramatic. The gaps will have stayed round about the same. Dustin will be chasing Udler yet again. And Wujek is fairly close behind Dustin. In his sights at the very least. It's a very good start if you want to start trying to overtake. Benefits in P7, and we've got Betty Tom Kyle in P8. A little way behind, no issues though. Slippy so far, the man to beat, has had excellent pace, a 1:56.9 I think was his outlap. Looks faster than other people's outer laps, but honestly, they are very unreliable to look at. In laps, out laps, we'll have weird times. So we'll see what this first full lap has got for him. It's a 1:48.4. I think a lot of people will not be able to match that, so a very good pace from him still. His wheel has not broken off. Always very good to see. Even if somebody is dominant, they are still working the car very hard. And hopefully enjoying it. That is, of course, the most important thing. Nico goes at the wide. He slides the car entirely over the outside line there. Tucks it in just in time. That will not be a fast way to take a corner, but it was successful, so well done. And he is, I think, catching up to Bedstrom Kyle, who lets him pass. Very nicely done. Cavalo will also be behind there, and I do see Wojciech close to Dustin. This is what we will be looking at for the time being. A little bit of a slide again from Wojciech. Dustin gets away for now. Still plenty of time though. Make something happen. 34 minutes remaining. We are 4 minutes away from halfway through the race. If you were to do a one-stop, that's where you would want to do it, because tires are the limiting factor. Fuel is the limiting factor. It can very much be a different story, although I think technically, mathematically, you probably want to be stopping in the middle again as well. For tires, that will be for sure the case. That's the way they exponentially tend to drop off. They're fine, and then suddenly they're not. And if you stay on them for even longer, they are even less fine. So Wojciech losing touch with Dustin a little bit, but you can see in the top left of the screen, you could see, can see again, some red lights belonging to Oudler. And that is also something that people will be looking at as Betty to Kyle goes into the pits again. Not sure what that is for, might be damage. Of course, we did see Wojciech hit the wall, might also have a little bit of damage. That is something drivers have to think about. A slide, and again, despite having mostly fresh tires, most people, the track is still so slippery, or the car is so slippery, or whatever. These drivers are not comfortably taking these corners. That much is for sure. Now a couple of crucial corners here then. This one will be the difference maker for a lot of these fights. Getting a good exit means you are catching up for the entire length of the straight and the banked corner. I think this one is even more crucial. But a good run through the chicane, and the difference can be pretty big here because of the nature of the corner, how precise it is to get a good run, and how much speed it gets you. Can get you a bunch close to the driver ahead. I think Oudler, Dustin and Wojciech are all fairly comfortable with it. Let's see what the lap times say though. Oudler with a 1:51.4. Dustin, very strong time from him. That's a 1:49.8. And Wojciech, a 1:51.2. So Dustin seems to be the fastest of this triplet. Udler will have to face pressure from behind sooner rather than later. We're already 10 minutes into the stints though. And these tires will drop off. We've seen it and we can see why. The amount of sliding these cars are doing and the fact that they are driving on these banked corners, which are very stressful for the tires, all in all means that these tires will drop off. This will not be a comfortable ride from start to finish. Of course, those who remember the 2005 Formula 1 season will remember that the Indianapolis banked corners were too much for the Michelin tires to handle in that year. And the controversial outcomes from that, everybody will remember, those who have seen it, all to show that these banked corners are very painful for the tires to deal with. Any tires. I wouldn't do it on my road car, not at full speed. Comfortable 100 kilometers an hour, probably fine. And we do see Udler going very wide there again, and Dustin is right on top of him. He's smelling the fumes from the car ahead. See the brake lights turn on. This time Udler does take the corner correctly and defends nicely. I think he got a very nice exit despite not maximizing the full width of the track. I think he got a very neat bit of traction there. Dustin has a little bit of distance to make up as a result. Under braking makes up a lot. Looks on the inside but is simply too far back. So it's not going to happen yet. Maybe here then. Udler hitting an early apex, has to tap the brakes again to avoid going wide. But on the power they go, up the banking and fairly low. But Dustin in the slipstream, so will start to catch up in speed, eventually in distance and time. Time is the most important factor there, of course. Braking for the chicane. Who has the better run? Ooh, and I don't think it's Udler. He had a bit of a scruffed middle bit. And Dustin is now closer than he has been in a very long time. So I think Udler has gained a little bit of speed though over Dustin. So Dustin will have to push the pedal just a little bit harder to be close enough for an overtake. But it might not be on this corner. Decides to go early on the brakes to ensure that he gets the good line. And Udler unfortunately misses the braking zone. You see Dustin also going a little bit wide there. These tires are struggling. As the sun again rises from the horizon. And if you're wondering what planet we are playing this on, this is still Earth, but it's just accelerated Earth. And we do see Dustin close in a lot, but it is not enough for a collision, thankfully. And we continue with a very respectful race between these two. Benny Fitz in the pits. Will likely be doing a second tyre change and going to the end from there, I imagine. It might also have to do with a little bit of damage. It depends on how his race has been going. But it seems that this is the only fight on track for now. Dustin has seen this position a lot though. But it's not quite enough. Oh, that might be enough. Udler on the grass, and that might be the mistake that ends this fight in favor of Dustin. But Dustin doesn't quite have the speed. It seems that Udler has just a little bit extra on setup, on gears, maybe on downforce. He just has a little bit of extra acceleration there. And as a result, Dustin is not able to benefit that easily. But he still has a good position. Breaks early for the corner. Oudler makes a crucial mistake. Big drift, goes incredibly wide. Dustin has to avoid though. And as a result, this is not done. Dustin on the inside for the next corner though. Is this going to be defensible for Oudler? It does not appear to be the case. Is he still there? Yes, he is, but he is behind and Dustin is in P4. But it's not over. It is over. That is it. Oudler is behind Dustin. He stuck his nose behind the tail. And the racing positions are with Dustin in 4th place. He is trailing Cavalo, who is 10 seconds up the road. I think that might be a big ask. I think it would have to be about a second a lap faster. But maybe that's possible. With a bit of strategy, we have seen Dustin do 49s. Maybe a 48 here and there. Maybe Cavalo makes a mistake. It's possible. Well, that 50.8 is with battling. So that will be slower, generally speaking. It will also have been with slipstream. So it could be faster than normal. We'll see in a couple of laps where the gap is. It's currently 10 seconds. 10 and a half. 9 and a half. Roughly 10 seconds. Cavalo is coming across the line though. A 151.0 will not be what he wants to be driving. That does put Dustin in a position where he can start the challenge. Those lap times, not last lap though. 151.2. This will be his first clean lap in a little while without any other cars to interfere in his lines. So let's see what he can do. I do say that Oudler is far enough behind not to be able to challenge. But again, that is 4 now. Let's quickly run down the grid and give everybody a little bit of screen time. Slippy hasn't had much. Good reason for that. If you are too good at racing, people will simply not feature you on their broadcast. I think that's because they think you're boring and nobody wants to watch it. There's too many good battles going on behind, which is at least one. But he has been doing an excellent job setting the pace below 150 every single lap. Incredible pace, and I don't think anybody's going to match that for the rest of the race. Without a mistake, Slippy will surely win. Now Nico is... He showed up late in qualifying, as in he was there from the beginning, but he only set a good lap time right at the end. It was less than half a second behind Slippy. So, very good from him there. In this race he has shown that he can consistently be faster than drivers behind. Hasn't had much battling to do. Got ahead early. And as a result, a very solid P2 for now. I've got Cavalo. I think Dustin made a small mistake there, but I missed it. Cavalo in P3. Will be happy with that position, provided he can stay there. That is where he finishes. I don't think we'll hear him complain too much. Unless he's a big fan of it, in which, you know, go ahead. It's a free country. Germany is. I believe he's from Germany. So, go ahead. It's been a decent day in the office. 10 points on the championship will put him ahead of Mick Schleifer for the time being. And perhaps he can later turn that into a win. I do love how the lights go down if you turn them off. But they do not merge with the car, which I think is hilarious. Dustin has had the job of catching up to Cavalo. Last lap he has been faster, but is not by enough. Needs to be about a second lap faster. Slippy says a very fast 148.7 in race pace. That's incredible. Oodle is somewhat keeping up. Was a little bit slower last lap though. It is. It's still a decent gap between. Oh, and he makes a big mistake there. Goes across the grass. It keeps the car somewhat under control. You might be thinking, surely you gained time there, right? Not really. You can't accelerate on the grass. If you're on the tarmac next to it, yeah, you have to do a couple of corners, but at least you're accelerating. On the grass, you're just slowing down. I'm pretty sure he loses time for that. Cavallo goes into pits for his last stop. And where will he come out? Nobody knows, but we will find out. I assume it will be another tyre change. And as you can see again, the theatrics of the engineers raising their hand. Yep, we're done. They're still busy in reality. It's just a secret operation. Don't show the teams what you're doing. Zvuček also goes into the pits. Now, Uthla, I've been pretty impressed with today. Despite the incidents we just saw going across the grass. Had a decent race. A couple of battles, going wide where everybody goes wide. A couple of small mistakes here and there. But overall, a very solid race from him. Zvuček has had a couple of major enough incidents, not necessarily contact with any walls or cars, but major enough to drop him back quite far. Hopefully that won't affect him personally too much. And hopefully he can at least secure P6. Benefits is a little bit far behind, so I think that will be possible for him. Slippy also into the pits, changing tires. Speaking of Benefits, a very good race today in terms of having had cool battles. Couple of mistakes though that have set him back quite a lot. And sometimes your position in the race is decided just by mere seconds of actual events. Small mistakes decide more where you finish than just driving well every lap. And Bertie Kyle, I think, is here just to get used to the car, and I think he's slowly doing it. And that is a 154.5, and while that is a decent gap behind other people, I think it's a big improvement from where he was. So good on him for sure. Of course, slow and steady improvement by people that aren't aliens, aren't the fastest in the world, is to be appreciated just as much as those who drive the wheels off their cars. We see Dustin take the lead of the race provisionally, but it will be with all tires that are going to go off, and Slippy is going to overtake very, very quickly and easily, is my presumption. Also, a 149.9 is still a very good lap time. It's faster than most people have done, I'm pretty sure. So maybe the tires aren't all gone. Maybe Dustin can save a little bit, stay ahead of Slippy for a little bit, and then pop in later. As long as the lap times stay good, because of course he still has his fights to worry about. If he stops at the wrong time, Udlo might be able to overtake, although maybe a big ask. Slippy in P2 right now, but will have much fresher tires. Let's see how he does it then. Dustin brings a little bit of dirt with him as a souvenir from America. Slippy is slowly catching up in the slipstream, and it will be Dustin who pulls into the pits here and cedes the lead back to Slippy, who I don't think will be giving this away. And yeah, I am hoping I'm jinxing him, absolutely. Udlo also going into the pits, equally with Dustin. And doesn't miss his pit box. Very important. It can happen that people brake too late and just miss their pit box in this game. In which case you need to very slowly reverse. If you do too fast, I think you get instantly disqualified. But yeah, Udlo and Dustin both changing their tires. And Nico, as a result, back up to P2. And Cavallo also going to overtake these two men who are standing completely still. There he goes. The Wujek will be a bit further behind. Nevertheless, doing a decent job. Despite the early incidents. Now, is there a battle going on right now? Yes. And it is a battle of pace between Dustin and Cavalo. Cavalo stopped a little bit earlier. Will have had the undercut, but I don't think it helped him that much. Gap is now 6 seconds. Now that is still not comfortable for Dustin. Comfortable. Dustin will still need to be like a second faster every single lap from now on in order to make a comfortable overtake on Cavalo. But that is much easier said than done. Both tyres are relatively new. Dustin's are a little newer. That small difference is not going to be the big difference maker though. You do see Dustin taking a little bit of liberties with the track limits, and I'm sure there are track limits there. It might be enforced by virtue of a warning. If you get too many warnings, you will have a drive-through. The visual glitches today are absolutely amazing. Seeing fractal patterns in the windshield of Dustin. Not intentional. Also not a fractal, it's just a space-filling tiling. But we ignore that. Very cool drift from Dustin. I'm not sure it's fast. We'll see how the gap evolves. But it seems to be going down. Cavalo seems to be losing time to the leader faster than Dustin is. Eventually that will mean that Dustin will catch up. Who else do we need to be looking at? Now we do have Benny Fitz, who is chasing in a loose sense Wujek. But I think Wujek has very good pace. In fact, 1:49.9 is a very good lap. You see this a lot from Wujek. A very good pace, just in the race, consistency not always there. And in the end, that is what decides the result in a race. It's about setting good laps, it's about setting decent laps every single lap. The man who has been doing that is Slippy, and honestly they are more than decent. Every single lap I think he has set has been touched by Midas himself. And yeah, nobody is going to be able to touch him as it stands. It's 30 seconds between him and Nico. Nearly. It's going to be by the end of the race at this rate. Now Dustin is catching though. 1:49.4 against a 1:50.0. Now that is a big improvement in terms of the gap getting smaller for Dustin. But is it enough? Is 6/10 really going to be enough? Now I could calculate this. I don't think it is. Very rough calculation, estimate. It's not going to be enough. So Dustin needs a little bit extra. Cavalo, his job, don't make any mistakes. Now, easy task, simple task, very difficult to actually do. Mistakes are everywhere. It's touching a wall a little bit here, going on grass, missing a braking point, big slides, going wide. We've seen it all. And equally though, Dustin also needs to avoid those mistakes if he wants to catch up. Cavalo seems comfortable this lap though. Through this chicane, good speed, and in fact I think he's improving on his best lap time. That is a big problem for Dustin, because if Cavalo is so much faster than he has been, that I don't think it's in there for Dustin. But let's see. Making predictions is all fine and dandy, but they are made to be broken. A 149.6 is excellent. What is Dustin going to do? What is his response? A 149.4, again, it is faster, but only 0.2 this time, and that's not enough. Dustin needs a little extra. Dustin needs Cavalo to make a mistake, or needs himself to copy whatever Slippy is doing. And he is going to run out of time. 9 minutes 30 left in this race. Now, not so much time in terms of a lot of time has already passed. It's only a sixth of the total race length. Less than that, in fact. But being faultless for 9 minutes is not easy. I'm not sure if I've ever done it in my life. Not make a single mistake for 5 minutes? 9 minutes even? Not a chance. Is Cavalo going to manage it? Is Dustin going to manage it? Let's see what happens. Cavalo through the chicane again. This one is so important. This is where time is made and lost. It seems to be a making time this time. Best lap delta again negative, and that could be a bug. I'm not sure if it's accurate. I don't trust this game. But we will see once he comes across the line what the time will be, and equally the same goes for Dustin. So we just keep our eyes on these two. Cavalo a 149.3, a brilliant lap time. And Dustin a 149.9. Now that might be Cavalo determining that he is going to take this podium position. He's the fastest man on track aside from Slippy, who sets a 148.5. Cavalo is pushing because he wants this podium. He needs this podium for the championship. Just of course has had a very strong race. Jumped at the start, but it was well, it was definitely by accident. It was not on purpose. Whether it was nerves though, whether it was just thinking about other things. Maybe he had a very nice dinner and was still enjoying that in the back of his head. Whatever the case, he jumped the start, had to do a drive-through, and went all the way to the back. He's made himself some very nice positions. Back up to P4. But it seems to be that is where the journey ends, because Cavalo is not giving this away. Cavalo is pushing. And through the chicane, you can see every time he absolutely sends it, but it does it well. No grass there on exit. We've seen a lot of people do that and lose time. Seems like he is consistent enough through there. That's all you need to be. Across the finish line again, we have a 149.9. And that is not as fast as we've seen earlier. A Dustin with a 149.1, keeping the dream alive maybe, but the gap is still big. The gap is 5 seconds, maybe 4. There's still a lot of time to make up, and you only have 4 laps. Probably not 5, but maybe 5. Depends on when Slippy crosses the line. If there's 5 laps, maybe, you know, on pace. If Dustin keeps this pace up and Cavalo was a one-hit wonder and now slows down a little bit, maybe. And you do see in Dustin's onboard view, the car is visible. And you can almost separate the spoiler from the rest of the car. So he's inside. Is he going to be fast enough? Is he going to catch up before the end of the race? That is the question on everyone's mind now. Cavalo makes a little bit of a mistake there on the grass, but he keeps going. Hopefully for him, no warning, no drive-through, no foul. Is this going to be all about lap time first, though? Dustin from last place to P4. Cavalo sets a 149.8. Dustin responds 149.3. That's a 0.5 difference. And Dustin is running out of time. Nico will have nothing to worry about as he's comfortably setting his 149.3s. Very good lap times from him as well. Shown himself to be very pacey today. Wojciech, I think, made a bit of a mistake last lap on 57.0 is not exactly where you want to be. And Oudler, as a result, is still a decent bit away. And in fact, there is... He also had a really slow lap last time around. That was lap 28 for those two. Ooh, and actually, Wojciech makes another mistake, and that's Oudler through straight up. Wojciech makes a small mistake into turn 1, and there goes Oudler to take a position. Benny Fitz goes for another stop. Might be going for fast lap. I don't think there's points for that. I think he just likes to do that. More power to him, for sure. As Oudler has overtaken Wojciech, but actually, I was looking at Cavalo and Dustin to pretend that fight was still alive, but these two are actually going to have to fight, because as much as Wojciech has been making mistakes today, he is fast, he is quick, he has set very good laps. 149 has been behind his name. Last lap was still a 150.6 despite the mistake in turn 1, losing him this position. There is every chance he takes it back. But it's all about staying cool, it's all about staying calm, collected, making very few mistakes, preferably none at all. Of course, easier said than done, and he is catching up though. Up to the chicane, got a brake in time for it, get a good line, and Oudler was late on the brakes, and I think that is actually going to play in Wojciech's hands, but maybe he went too tight on the grass, maybe a little bit too much. Put that chicane, avoid the curb. Going through the chicane very nicely, though he doesn't need to do it yet, but he is in striking range, so it could happen. Maybe not into turn 1, but never say never. Turn 1 is absolutely chaotic, so it's absolutely possible. Looking around the outside, he actually has the overspeed. Is it going to be enough? Side by side, earlier on the brakes though. Is he going to have a better line? Goes wide on entry, not so much grip out there, but better than what Oudler has, because he has literally nothing. Big slide from him, and Wojciech is through again. And Oudler will have to hope for a mistake, I think. That's the best thing he can do from Wojciech. Ooh, but he makes a mistake himself, and that just means no grip on the rear at all. And unfortunately has to settle for this position, presuming no further mistakes being made. Speaking of no mistakes being made, this man, Slippy. No mistakes today, absolutely flawless. 34 seconds ahead of the next driver. And he's managed that in not so much time, in fact. Just 1 hour race and a really big lead. Absolutely untouchable today. And I know a lot of people think racing is very boring when only one person is able to compete, when one person is clearly faster than the rest. And absolutely, you're not seeing exciting battles. We can all agree on that. But you are seeing someone absolutely perfect the craft of racing. You see a lot of people struggle. We've seen people go wide everywhere. We've seen this chicane being taken in a multitude of ways, most of which were not very good. But Slippy, showing himself to be class of the field, 34 seconds ahead of Nico, 50 seconds ahead of Cavalo. And I think it's either this lap that is the end or next lap, but I think it's this lap. He slows down. He slows down, in fact, because he doesn't have to drive anymore. He has so much time, all the time in the world. Race complete. Slippy is the winner of the Daytona race, race 3 of the Classic Day Championship, and he takes the lead of the championship. I believe from himself, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember if it was in the lead. No, it was Mick Schleifer in the lead. Slippy is back on top. The bad race around last time around, so had to make up a little bit, but he has done so. And Nico reasonably far behind, but takes P2 in a very nice way to enter the championship. 12 points behind his name. Cavalo in P3 right now will not be giving it away. Resisted pressure from Dustin and has set very good laps when it mattered at the end. And tops it off 101.50.2, doesn't need to be faster. Brilliant P3, last man on the podium. Congratulations to Cavalo, 10 points behind his name. And Dustin, in style, P4, first race this season, and finished it nicely. Wojciech, still driving in P5, has had a very much up and down race, has shown to have the pace. Just the consistency is something to work on, and it's not easy in this car. There's so many mistakes made by simple slides, going wide, by so many people. Wojciech is no exception. But P5 for him, Oudler in P6, we've got Benefits in P7, and Bertie Tom Kyle rounds it all off. And that's the race. 1 hour, Slippy untouchable. Was 1 second after the flag was waved. Timed it very nicely. He could have gone another lap, I think, but he decided to slow down. Very nicely done, and congratulations. And thank you so much for watching if you have been. And if you've enjoyed it, please do not forget to subscribe. We will be doing this every 2 weeks. So we're off next week, but the week after we will be racing. And let me grab the calendar. In Estoril. I believe that's Portugal. Old version of the track. Thank you so much. I've been Findict, and that's it.